So, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure of asking to the stage, as I said, my other boss, who is someone who is to be celebrated. We are in the last 100 days of his leadership at the helm of UN tourism. He joined about 8 years ago at a point at which finally tourism had a seat at the table. Finally, people recognize the impact that we have as an industry, economically, socially, culturally, environmentally, and as I said, spiritually as well. Finally. So what did we do with that seat at the table? It's not just about sitting down, showing up, and having a meal. It's about contributing to what was on the menu. And this gentleman has spent the last 8 years genuinely focusing on what we are focusing on today, which is investment in tourism development. But he did it not only in terms of the hardware, the infrastructure that we need to invest in, the airports, the roads, the stadiums, the buildings, the attractions, the resorts, the hotels. He focused on education, the critical software, which will be his legacy. We must also never, ever, ever forget a time that we all want to forget, which was the global pandemic, where borders and skies were shut. And he led us through. He led us through that time to make sure that we kept not only our minds open to the potential of tourism, but our hearts open to the responsibility we have in building forward better, not back, forward better. And that's about turning sustainability into a verb and making sure that it is not a question of do we do it, it's a principle of why we are doing what we do. He is going to be showing today 3 of ultimately the initiatives that, again, are very much an impact of UN tourism across the country and across the region and across the world. And therefore, I am delighted to welcome to the stage for his remarks Secretary General Zurab Pololikashvili of UN Tourism. Sir.
Thank you, dear Anita. Good morning to everyone. Many, many, many thanks, dear Minister, for your warm hospitality. Me, like Princess Haifa, I'm first time in Cape Town, and shamefully I'm first time. And I could not extend my stay, but I promise you that I will be back. But again, it's an honor and very happy to be here. I will go direct to the business. I want to beg you to maintain this tradition and to have every year this investment forum. Because we started 3 years ago with Natalia, the photo is there and she's here, talking about investment. It was first time when from UN organization, and I want to mention that we are in the country of godfather of UN, which is Nelson Mandela. It's a very important place to be here, and I want to thank to everyone who is attending today's meeting and this investment summit. And so we started 3 years ago, knowing we didn't know where we were going, but we knew that investments are needed everywhere, especially on the African continent. And invest in tourism is the fastest way to create jobs. And our main challenge and main objective was and will be to create new jobs. And this is the fastest way. Now, we are in South Africa. South Africa has, as you see, the world-class infrastructure, which is very important. And it was mentioned many times that if there is no infrastructure, there is no tourism. It's clear. And this has to be the place every year to have investment forum for Africa. We did first time with our brother, Rodney Sikumba, the honorable minister from Zambia. It was very successful forum, but again, we have now representatives and high representatives, ministers from Saudi Arabia, the main and one of the biggest investors in the world. United Arab Emirates, dear minister, thank you to be with us, Princess Haifa, Princess Sarah. I know how Minister Ahmed Al-Khatib, he wanted to come. It's not that he canceled. I know that he called me at Zurab, are you coming? We have to be there. We have to be next to Patricia, he told me. I hope to see him very soon. Anna, she's coming from Brazil. If someone is thinking that South Africa or Africa and American countries are far, they are not far. It's only 7 hours flight. And we made also first African and American meeting twice. Again, one of them it was in Zambia, and dear Rodney, as the chair of African Commission, please maintain this investment forums, because Africa needs investment. And as Minister mentioned, we didn't come here with the words and with the photos. We came with a guideline, why everyone has to invest in South Africa. And it's written. Natalia will present these guidelines, and it's very clear why all of us will have to invest in South Africa. It's not only words. Education. We are focused and we are betted on education again 3 or 4 years ago when we started first time talking about education in tourism. Many thanks to private sector where I'm sitting. It's very important. Without private sector, it's impossible to develop any kind of activities in tourism industry. And also I want to wish a quick recovery to Julia Simpson, and WTTC. It's another very strong partner of our organization and our industry. So to be united is very important, and you made it, dear Minister. Thank you for your leadership. You are so peaceful. You find a peace when we are talking with you, but you made a big thing. You made very big thing for Africa, and again, it's first time. It's always difficult, but I can say that it's always an already successful meeting we have here today. It's not less important than G20 meeting we will celebrate tomorrow. For me, it's much important here, and again, I'm very thankful to G20 member countries to be here. They could go directly there, as many of them do, but they came especially for you, especially, as Princess Haifa mentioned, to support African continent, and that's why we are all here. And please continue and invest more, spend more in Africa, in South Africa in this case, and again, many thanks for your support. Talking about the events are coming, and I'm sure it will happen, because I want to remind all of you that South Africa was the first country during the history of football who hosted World Cup on African continent. And it was very successful. I was at the time supporting Spain. It's very, very lucky place for Spanish football, and historical. They became first time also the champion of the world. South Africa, as you know, is the world champion in rugby. So you have everything to host Formula One, to golf tournaments, and cricket as well, of course. The most difficult was to attract World Cup here, and you made it, and thank you again to be here. Sustainability, we mentioned, I agree also with you, Excellencies. It's not overdose. It's when I started to work in UN tourism, I was listening in all conferences, sustainability. I was asking, what is sustainability? I mean, and everyone has his or her own idea about it. We created first time again the course, 3 years course to understand students what is sustainability in tourism. So we have already 2 editions, and we will be more than welcome to receive students from your countries in Madrid. We did this program with Lucerne University from Switzerland, and again we are in agreement in all this. And to finalize my long speech, we have 100 scholarships we want to start, thanks to, and we started also this program with the support of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia 3 years ago. We are giving scholarships to the young students, and we are honored to start with 100 scholarships for South African students during this trip. Thank you very much for everything. If I forgot to someone, to mention someone. I apologize, Anita. Thank you.
I'm going to ask, please, that the Secretary General stay on stage, as there are 3 handovers, sir, that you are very proudly going to be doing. The first one is going to be the African Guide, the executive summary, that's going to go to the chair of CAF, the first of a bigger part of a project. So please, may I ask the report be handed over? Sir, please join us on stage. Thank you.
This is again first time we are doing the overall and general investment guideline in Africa. Africa is huge. I mean, we can't compare the countries, but this will be the first document, which is just beginning. It will be much bigger and much big content, as Africa is, and we want to launch it on the General Assembly in Riyadh in November. So I have the honor to present this book. Thank you. One more remark. I'm sorry to go out of protocol. We did first time also with Zambia in Chinese, the investment guidelines, and my proposal always was to do in Arabic. So I think it's very good idea as we have our friends with us. It will be very important to do the guidelines in different languages. We started to have experience already with Chinese, but let's do Natalia in Arabic language because it will be very useful, I'm sure, everywhere, and we will do it.
Brilliant.
Maybe for Riyadh.
Excellent. I now ask us, the Honourable Minister Dalil, to accept, please, the report for South Africa. Madam. Brilliant. And before the Honourable Minister disappears, I will take this from you. Thank you. I'll give it back, I promise. Very, very special. The Secretary General is also going to present to you, Madam, a certificate reflective of the 100 scholarships that UN Tourism is providing South Africa's tourism industry for skills upliftment as a legacy of impact. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. All these toys for you, madam. All these toys. Stunning. Secretary General, thank you very much. You can take your seat. It is now my great pleasure to welcome to the stage the Executive Director of UN Tourism, who's probably one of the hardest working people when it comes to investment and development in the global tourism space. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Natalia Bayona, who is going to explain to us all the magic that is inside the reports. Natalia, stage is yours. Thank you.
Anita, thank you so much. Dear ministers, dear Secretary General, dear investors, dear UN team, we are delighted to be here today because we started this journey with Minister Patricia when we came to the Americas Africa Summit in Zambia, and she told us and she challenged ourselves to work for Africa, as South Africa is the only country from the G20. So she told us, you know, I want really to bring a legacy to the African sector, to promote all the countries and to invest better. So I want Natalia to deliver not only why to invest in South Africa, but also why to invest in Africa. So we have been working, as the Secretary General mentioned, with more than 50 countries all around the world to promote investments on education, investments on technology, investments, of course, in infrastructure. and to innovate and to help the countries to innovate on how they create new incentives to promote infrastructure. So without further ado, I'm going to start the presentation by talking a little bit on how is the world today when it comes to tourism. So what do I have to say from the UN tourism perspective? First of all, what is happening in the world? As Princess Haifa mentioned earlier, the world is booming and tourism is growing. UN tourism expectations is that the sector grows 5% this year. Last year, Africa grew 12%, Asia Pacific 33%, the world 11%. What is happening this year? Again, we see the same projections. So still, all the regions of the world are growing. The world is growing, as I already mentioned, 5%. And when it comes to Africa, who are the big players, the ones that are performing the most? I would say that Gambia, this is a very successful case, 46% of growth. Morocco, 22%. And of course, South Africa is there, 6% of growth. So at the end, as we always say, this is time of emerging countries. When you see the globe, the emerging destinations are the ones who are growing the most. So this is the opportunity to focus on them. And when it comes to investment, so let's see where do we are. So investments, as you know, investors are committed with investments if they see security, confidence, trust. And I always say, and when I see the graphics on investments, this is the world, all sectors, not only tourism. Then I'll go deep into what is happening into tourism. But in all sectors, you can see like a roller coaster. So the first tipping point of dropping investments was the COVID. Then it went up. But then war started. So again, when there are geopolitical tensions, investors are not that open for investments. That's why it's key, our role, to maintain investments through tourism. So to assure that from the most human economic sector that is tourism, we are able to maintain stability as a driver of mutual understanding and openness. So today the numbers are going up again, 1.5 trillion in the world related to foreign direct investments. When it comes to all the sectors in Africa, private investments are growing. Last year, Africa received 11% growth when it comes to foreign direct investments, $50 billion, 500,000 new jobs thanks to investments, and representing more or less more than 3,000 new projects from all around all the sectors. In the tourism cluster in the world, again, tourism is growing, so investments are growing as well. In the last years, since 2019, as of last year, the tourism sector expected to create 300,000 jobs, representing investments in more than $126 billion and more than 2,000 announced projects. And in Africa, we see the same flow. When the ministers say that this is time for Africa, it's true. 90% of the projects, when it comes to the last 5 years, are focused on accommodation in hotel infrastructure. So that's another key message. It's good that investors are coming to invest in hotels, but as well, I see here startups in front of me. So it's good as well to create the ecosystem to invest in technology or to invest in people and to create the academies that we are creating in Zambia and in Zimbabwe so that we are able to bring the good skills for the workers that are here. $7 billion have been invested in Africa in tourism all around. And where are the projects? So this is the Financial Times ranking. So at the end, South Africa is #1 when it comes to foreign direct investment in tourism. Second one is Morocco, where we will open soon an office focused on innovation. The third one is Tanzania. We were there as well, promoting investments. Then we have Kenya, Nigeria, Senegal, Tunisia, Cameroon, Ethiopia, and finally Mozambique. So there are opportunities all around Africa. And that's why this is the perfect moment to announce why to invest in Africa. So who are the investors from the private sector? Who is investing in Africa? First of all, the US. Second of all, China. Third of all, Spain. Third of all, UAE. Fifth of all, Morocco. Sixth of all, France. So you can see here the power of the G20. And we mentioned that in April during the technical discussion. There's a lot that we can send and deliver. There are a lot of business opportunities between G20 countries, so it's very key to deliver this message here. But of course, we see, as the Secretary General mentioned, investment opportunities in Saudi. I have seen that in the general perspective, not only in tourism, the Saudi Development Fund have more than 400 projects all around Africa. And as Vice Minister Ana Carla, the Secretary General, mentioned, Brazil is really chained and committed. Ana told us this morning that they are advancing on new air connectivity between South Africa and Brazil. So it's another huge opportunity. And our regional office of the Americas is focused on investments as well. So bringing closer the South-South is another opportunity that we have. So with this said, let me present the two books very briefly. So what's behind the scenes when it comes to the first book on investing in Africa? What we did is we worked together, Ministry of Tourism of South Africa and UN Tourism, to see and to create different frameworks to help the investors to understand why to invest in Africa. So this is the executive summary, as the Secretary General mentioned. The idea is to divide these by chapters, because Africa is huge, so divided at least in the 5 different sub-Africas that we have. And of course, to present an overall booklet that is really clear to investors. What are the key opportunities there? So, of course, the demographic momentum. This is the youth region of the world, so innovation is key here. Resilient foreign direct investments, I already mentioned. Transforming the tourism market, expanding the infrastructure backbone, and of course, supportive investment climate. So the first chapter that you will see you have the QR codes, so you can see it on the papers that were in your seats. The first chapter is about the socioeconomic context. So just to mention some of the good things that are happening in Africa, 3% of GDP growth in 2024 and projected to reach 4.5% by 2030. 42% of the world youth population is African. And of course, 60% under age of 25. So again, technology, creating entrepreneurial mindset. If you already have a corporate and you want to create an innovation lab, why not? As Richard Branson created some years ago here in South Africa for startups. The second chapter is about value, proposition, and competitive outlook. So again, $52 billion are represented in the tourism exports last year. 21% more jobs per direct position. WEF, in the Travel and Tourism Index, mentioned that Africa shows the global improvement, the strongest improvement. 16 out of 19 countries improved their scores. So again, public policies are moving, and this is key for an investor, that they see an ally. Second part of the value proposition, and this is really important, innovative incentives. So this is not only about tax reliefs. They are creating free trade zones, special economic zones, like in Cabo Verde, in Zimbabwe, in Mozambique, so that you can it's not only about creating or building a new hotel, it's about the whole infrastructure, creating mega cities or mega developments. Morocco, for example, has long-term vision, 5 years corporate income tax exemption. Ghana, reduced corporate tax. Cameroon, VATs. Customs, Namibia, community conservancy model. So we have, I'm not going to extend the presentation, but we have a detailed success stories for fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. And of course, the third chapter is about investment opportunities per niche. So if you want to go to ecotourism and conservation, there are the incentives and the sub-regions and the countries that are working and promoting these, urban tourism, cultural tourism. So at the end, Minister Rodney, we have a lot to do because this is a starting point. So you as a chair, we will guide us so that we will be able to deliver with the Secretary General during the General Assembly and start next year promoting all about what is Africa. So that's the first book about, the first framework. The second one is the one that we have developed with the South Africa government, with the minister, and of course with the team. And this is the example of what we are doing all around. As I already mentioned, this is a new service for the member states. We are doing this in the Middle East with different countries, with Saudi, with Kuwait, with Oman, with Jordan, in Latin America, with my home country, Colombia, Dominican Republic, almost 20, Brazil, in Europe as well, Albania, among others, and in Africa, of course. So this is like the first approach to help the countries to create their own framework on why to do business in this country. So in this case, why South Africa? South Africa, of course, is the guideline is divided into 5 chapters. The first one, again, is about the overall economics. So in the case of South Africa, why? So this is key for this part of the auditorium that I see a lot of corporates and investors here today. So it's the second largest destination in Africa. In 2024, South Africa generated 6 billion, nearly 15% of total tourism earnings. It's the third largest destination in Africa, 9 billion visitors, and is the 5th fastest growing destination in Africa. So main reasons on why to invest in the country. UNESCO, as you know, heritage tourism is growing as well. So more than 20 national parks, safaris, 76% international tourist arrivals of the whole region comes to South Africa, world-class infrastructure, supportive to the environment, as I already mentioned, and I love this when in April the minister told us that they were working to develop strategic zones in the country with a special economic zones, green tourism incentives program, and a youth employment program as well as part of the incentives that they are giving to the investors. And of course, the leadership when it comes to VC and startups. So in the economic outlook, of course, today South Africa, I would say that is a leading tourism investment hub, 15% of Africa total GDP. And when it comes to the special economic zones that we are promoting these actively in all around the world, because that has been key to develop different regions, is not only, again, about the corporate taxes and tax reliefs, it's about infrastructure support, the institutional support, and how you can develop more. So in terms of, look at this, that is really interesting. When it comes to traditional investments, it attracts 25% of the overall investments from Africa, but when it comes to innovation, it's 21%. So it's a lot. Who are the main investors in South Africa? France, Botswana, UK, US, India, Germany. Mainly focused in urban tourism, air transportation, and ecotourism. The value proposition I already mentioned, so I am not going to go deep, but you all have these in the QR. So for example, the visa facilitation that Anita and the minister mentioned. And then, of course, the competitiveness outlook that is good for a due diligence at the end for an investor. So for example, in terms of average length of a stay is 10 days. That is quite a lot if you compare these with other destinations. 47 million domestic tourism trips. That's another market, not only about bringing internationals, but also how you create a national market with 47 million itself. And it's the first in Africa when it comes to the Travel and Tourism Development Index of the WEF. So the last part of the presentation and of the investment guideline is about the current opportunities. So the minister and the ministries always do this. They select what are those that are seeking for public investments, what are the projects that are seeking for private investments, and then we promote them together in these kind of forums. So that's why then there's a networking where people can promote their own projects. So in this case, we have projects all around. It's an investment portfolio of $75 million with the potential to generate more than 1,000 jobs. So with all of these, I truly believe that we are on the right track to develop Africa's tourism industry by investing in people, protecting the planet, of course, and fostering prosperity. So without further ado, this is just the opening of a hard work that we have to do. Count on us, count on you and tourism, and thank you so much.
Natalia, thank you very much for that. And I think very importantly as well, exactly as Natalia has said, the launch of the guidelines, the launch of the instruction is the start. It's not the finish.